Yep, that's me. I bet you're wondering how I ended up playing this truly tragic AAA video game. I was born in 1982. By way of reference, that is the year Miss Pac-Man was released in arcades. Playing new games and immersing myself in my most cherished art form was my blessed routine from the 1980s until 1999, at which point I had begun to play a massively multiplayer time extractor called Asheron's Call. With my free time captured by this one computer game, and my day-to-day kidnapped by my studies in college, I had precious little time for other games for years. I stopped playing Asheron's Call for the most part in 2004, and stopped playing video games altogether in 2005 and 2006. I started up again in 2007. In 2010, I started regularly watching YouTube for the first time, and got hooked on a video podcast called NoobTube. I had written for a few websites, but never anything in the audio-visual realm. I created and uploaded my own videos about games, got snapped up by Channel Awesome for their Blistered Thumbs offshoot website, and in addition to my regular series, I was chosen to co-host its official podcast. In 2012, I changed topics and branded my work Renegade Cut for all time. In a way, I've played video games my whole life because I started so young, but there are gaps in my life as a vid kid. 2012 through 2019, barely anything. I was married for part of that time, working multiple jobs, and hobbies just took a back seat. I was adulting too hard. Since around 2020, I have rediscovered my love of games, but getting back into the scene meant understanding new concepts that were not as prevalent or did not even exist in 2012. I avoided the new terminology partially by accident. I spent a fair percentage of my time playing retro games, and when I would dare to play new games, they were usually the fruits of independent game studios. Here are my favorite games released from 2020 to 2024, and with a couple exceptions like Baldur's Gate 3, all my faves were indie games and did not contain the trappings of what I have come to understand is now called AAA gaming. Video games have once again become the primary focus of my career. I felt that having a more thorough understanding of at least the lexicon of modern gaming was prudent and necessary. Thus, armed with responsibility and fear, I scrolled through my smartphone and noticed a video game article claiming that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was, no joke, 95% off. I could purchase a 2024 AAA video game from a major publisher for the price of a sandwich, and not even a particularly good sandwich. I learned only after my purchase that Kill the Justice League shares the same continuity as the Batman Arkham games. Never played those. Gaps, remember? This is my introduction to the Arkham video game universe. Strap in. Kill the Justice League begins before beginning, installing something called anti-cheat software. We're off to the races, huh? At first blush, I mistakenly assumed that this software existed purely to prevent cheating during multiplayer, but no. This cybernetic teddy bear was given life to prevent players from modding the game in ways that could reduce the value of the purchasable, downloadable outfits and whatnot. Unfortunately, it also prevents modding altogether. You know, the thing that makes bad games good and good games great. On Nexus Mods, the two most popular downloads for Kill the Justice League are a mod that fixes the frame rate problems and a mod that circumvents Teddy Ruxpin to allow these mods to function in the first place. Worse yet, this Big Brother anti-cheat software is so deeply intrusive and so bare-bustingly broken that it keeps malfunctioning and has prevented players from enjoying Kill the Justice League from time to time over the course of this year. I'm going out on a limb and assuming that the bear is meant to evoke the teddy bear cameras that panicky white suburbanites purchase to spy on the babysitter, lest she take more than one agreed-upon popsicle from the freezer. Next, the game finally loaded. But before I could chuck my boomerangs and batarangs at the skulls of unsuspecting monsters, Kill the Justice League insisted that I sign a document that I'm nearly certain states that I do not own the game that I bought. That I bought a license to play this game. Yeah, I know this whole license thing is kinda standard on Steam and other places that use DRM, but I usually don't have to sign a contract. I don't remember that coming up in many of the other games that I've played, even recently, but those games were indie games and I don't know. Excuse me, Kill the Justice League, but I paid over $3 for this, and that means I own it. If I wanted to play something but not in perpetuity, I would still be playing Asheron's Call. Kill the Justice League then informed me that I am being connected with WB services, and look, I know, if you've been dealing with this for the past few years, this might seem like the oldest and dustiest hat. But the inundation of loosely related but mandatory software and internet connections required to even start this unwieldy behemoth, and feeling this all at once, is striking my very soul and damning me to game hell. Much of this is brand new to me because of those gaps. At long last, after wandering in the desert for 40 years, I have been delivered unto the game in the avatar of Deadshot. The tutorial tutors me, but good, tooting all the way. At times, a tutorial is integrated neatly into the main action of the game. The first bit in Half-Life functions this way. LA Noire teaches you how to solve a case by letting you solve a case. The invisible professor of the game teaches you how to play without feeling like you're reading an instruction manual. Kill the Justice League is not that. The game insists upon itself, keeping me after school and telling me how disappointed it is. Worst of all, the tutorial stage takes place in medias res and has no bearing on the flow of the story, you know? So it's not really happening in the middle of the action. It exists in a space between spaces so much that when it ends, the tutorial washes away, insubstantial, and even less seamless than before. I recognize why the developer did this. The tutorial is so lengthy and so unfun that forcing an experienced player to redo the tutorial at the start of the game would be egregious. I get it. If this is their second run, they don't have to do the tutorial. Okay, but that's not the point. That sounds like an excuse for not figuring out a way to integrate the tutorial into the first stage of the game in a way that was fun and didn't feel like a tutorial. There are scads of examples of developers doing just that, even in the era of AAA gaming. Here are some examples on the screen. I am shuttlecocked into a cutscene in Arkham Ass Lumps. I love a good cutscene, and it's a shame that Kill the Justice League doesn't have any. All its cutscenes appear to be in-engine camera tilts that go on for way too long. Close-ups on hideous, almost human character models that, I'm sorry, still bear passports for the uncanny valley. If I wanted to watch a movie, I would, and it definitely would not be starring these characters. The menu screen is an incomprehensible mess of numbers and columns, like a personal notepad written by one of those guys who goes to baseball games and writes down the at-bats. I want to feel joy in my life. I do. I want to accentuate the positive and not sweat even the most minuscule of stuff. Nevertheless, when I open this menu screen, I hate everything in front of me. Why is the inventory column called the loadout? What is the loadout? Who's doing the loading? And what am I loading? For the record, Your Honor, I plead guilty to maining Captain Boomerang. I wanted to be either Harley Quinn or Deadshot, but I found Boomer's traveling mechanism more functional than all the rest. You just throw the boomerang and you go there, like teleportation. The Codex is an archive of characters and references, audio jingles, dictionary jangles, and mostly harmless collectibles for the hoarders among us. Looks, at first glance, might be misplaced and should go along with the inventory column, but nope. Looks is different because you can buy looks. The menu screen is not for your inventory. It's a store or a restaurant. I am reading a restaurant menu. This menu is for selling me things. Never before in all my button-mashing experience as a vid kid has a menu screen lived up to its name in such nightmarish, cold accuracy. The literalness, a twist of the knife. I spent far more time than I care to admit trying to figure out how to exit the game. Apparently, rather than allowing me to leave its money-grabbing clutches, the exit is under Squad. I have to go to Squad to find the key to the door that has been locked behind me. If you believe I am exaggerating, peep this. The exit button is purposefully so much smaller. It's a whisper when it should be a shout. It's hidden, as if it were fine print in a mortgage. The next tab reads Battle Pass, an approximate rhyme that strikes my ears, beckoning me inside, only to discover that a Battle Pass is this game's incarnation of a Season Pass. In the past few years, I have predominantly played indie games, and I have not bothered to read the video game journalism websites all that much. A Season Pass in modern AAA video gaming is something I had heard about but had never investigated the meaning. Until now, a season pass at a theme park is purchased under the assumption that the buyer will use it enough to make it worth the cost. A season pass in a video game apparently works the same way. The game enthusiast buys the season pass and gets all the things, the big DLC things, perhaps for a discount when all is said and done. This almost makes sense, except in the most important way that it does not. A season pass at Disneyland is purchased by someone with knowledge of what is and is not at Disneyland. A season pass purchased for Kill the Justice League is bought on the promise that the game will be good and that the future DLC will be good as well. A season pass purchase for a video game is like buying a Disneyland season pass a week before its grand opening in 1955. The bizarre brand loyalty that someone must have for Kill the Justice League is not only unfounded, but some manner of last Crusadian leap of faith. I am completely new to this concept in video games, but I'm fairly certain that game enthusiasts have had these criticisms already. Because how could they not, right? The naked scamorama is impossible to miss. I'm just getting shotgun blasted in the face with all these new terms at the same time, so forgive me for being late to the worst party in the world. In the menu screen, yeah, I'm still on this, okay? The Options tab, the actual important stuff, is on the far right of the screen. It's one of the only absolutely necessary tabs on any menu screen, so much that it is often its own button altogether, like Select. On the far left side of the screen is the Squad tab. Remember how the Squad tab is the one that actually allows you to stop playing the game? So what does this mean? The two most important tabs are on the opposite sides of the menu screen, the two tabs that everyone will need to visit. In order to get to the all-important Options menu or to get back over to the important Squad menu, you absolutely must scroll past all the sales pitches. I even get advertisements when I start the game and then more advertisements when I try to press start to enter. It's unavoidable. Someone might exclaim, "So what? You don't have to buy anything." Yes, indeed, you have defeated me with a fact that I already knew, but that misses the emotional core of my desperate wail. Imagine if a vacuum cleaner salesman knocked on your door today and tried to sell you a vacuum cleaner. You politely decline and that's it. Until tomorrow when the vacuum cleaner salesman knocks on your door again. He repeats his sales pitch and you repeat your refusal. This happens every day for weeks, even months. Here's the thing, even if the vacuum cleaner salesman is not actually wearing you down because you don't need a new vacuum cleaner and you can't afford his vacuum cleaner anyway, it's still fucking annoying. It doesn't matter that you don't have to buy it. It just feels weird being sold something all the time, whether you're buying it or not. You told him no, and he's still there every day, even when you threaten him with a firearm. All these sales pitches in the menu screen feel like I'm being sold the game that I already bought. You ever watch a TV show and one of the commercials is for the show that you're already watching? It's like that, but more intrusive than funny. I'm sorry that this far into the video I have barely even talked about how this game plays, but my mountain of complaints about this menu screen and everything connected to it has created an avalanche. I want to play something else. My outlook on life is too purple and ethereal yet corruptible to withstand this much Kill the Justice League without the colors of my world bleeding out and losing saturation. To cleanse myself of the spoiled milk that is the AAA experience, I feasted upon the delicious strawberry pie that is Celeste. I had yet to play this game. It was released in 2018. If you recall, that is within one of the empty spaces in my gaming history. Pressing the buttons, I guessed straight away that I was going to vibe with this more. The weight and kerplumpiness of the platformer is felt in the bones immediately following the first jump. The height of a platformer character's jumps and the time between the apex of height and landing creates the illusion of the heft and substance that the developer is trying to communicate. If the developer programs it just right, the landing is satisfying in a way that's hard to describe but reminds the player of gravity. That's good game feel. Gravity lover Galileo Galilei once said, "Passion is the genesis of genius," although he probably said it with an exaggerated, offensive accent. The passion in creating such an overwhelmingly personal and emotional journey undoubtedly led to the brilliance of its design. It's like Super Meat Boy with feelings. In the game, Madeline is determined to climb to the summit of Celeste, a mysterious mountain with untold powers. Her adventure runs parallel with her struggles to resolve her traumas. Her very life. Everyone tells her that it's impossible for her to climb the mountain and that she is no mountain climber. On every screen, Madeline is presented with a challenge that often seems impossible. How am I supposed to get over there? Did the game not realize this can't be done? And then, every time after several attempts, the way to get to the other side becomes more obvious, and then it's only a matter of patience. The impossibility of resolving her past is the impossibility of climbing the mountain is the impossibility staring in the face of the player, and every time she gets to the other side, or to the next screen, the narrative and general ideas of the game explode beautifully in the mind. I'm really happy I played this game, and especially happy I played this game in the middle of Kill the Justice League. I needed to play anything else for a while, and that game just happened to be one that I loved. When I tried to play Kill the Justice League again after a day without playing, it broke, or something. Steam could not update the game no matter how many times I tried. I uninstalled and reinstalled the game and that did the trick. Kill the Justice League does not spend much time establishing the who's, what's, and what have-yous of the game's characters and setting. The developer presumes that the player is already familiar with Harley Quinn and the Penguin and everyone else. From one perspective, this can be seen as beneficial, streamlining everything from a pre-established universe. From another perspective, this robs the game of important character moments and introductions. When Wonder Woman shows up, the player is like, oh cool, it's Wonder Woman, because the player knows who Wonder Woman is even if they did not watch Justice League or the Wonder Woman movie. But when she shows up and is Wonder Woman, the game does not take the opportunity to expand upon that. She feels less a character who has been introduced to us and more like a symbol, an icon. Spoilers here, big ol' spoilers. This becomes a bigger problem when she dies. It's this tragedian cry-splosion, and it would have ginormous impact and heartbreak if the game spent any time on developing Wonder Woman in this game and not assuming we will simply lose our composure at the death of a pre-established, important pop culture action figure. These non-entities peer out from behind a door of the loading screen, Three Stoogian, and then vanish as quickly as they came. When the game starts and we find out that Brainiac is taking over the world, our pre-existing knowledge of Brainiac is a shortcut to the action, but it robs all the ominous, portentous drama of an alien mastermind controlling the Earth. Brainiac does not emerge from the shadows, only to be met by gasps of, Brainiac. No, it cannot be. It's nothing like that. It's just, Brainiac showed up in Metropolis, you guys. Let's get that Brainiac. The setup to the action feels like two kids at recess saying, okay, you're Superman and I'm Lex Luthor, and then they chase each other around in the spirit of harmless make-believe. The lack of plot or stakes is part of the imaginative recess adventure. But Kill the Justice League does have a plot, does have characters, does have stakes, and they are subject to more scrutiny, because we're existing in this story the whole time. The action in Kill the Justice League is punctuated by eyeball target cacophony, flashing indicators, smashing bonus indicators, and more numbers than the national defense budget. I feel like I'm in a pachinko machine. What do these numbers even suggest? During the extensive tutorial, I was not informed, but these numbers are apparently the standard in looter shooters, popularized by Borderlands, another game I have not played. These numbers are representations of damage, akin to JRPG damage, but with a keener focus on dopamine rushes instead of communicating meaningful data. When I obliterate a hacker or cyborg in Ruiner, do you know what explodes out of their bodies? I'll give you a hint. It isn't numbers. Look at this. Look at all this art, this beauty, this preposterous devastation. This is an action game with a consistent aesthetic, dynamic combat, sound-sational music, and most importantly, a soul. And this is a broken team sport designed for I will become the Jokers, drowning in a banana bunch of numerical nonsense. Numbers are the worst thing since letters. My computer is strong enough to handle modern AAA video games such as Baldur's Gate 3 and Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. Both function well on my PC, without much in the way of crashing, tearing, or slowdowns. Yet, Kill the Justice League sets everything to overkill so much that even after reducing the resolution and frame rate, the game still herks and jerks in embarrassing fashion. I'm not a computer programmer, so this next bit of speculation is from an amateur, so, fair warning. But the enormity of the city game setting, every building scalable, 4 separate anti-heroes all running, jumping, and dancing around this literal metropolis probably jacked up the minimum system requirements and overall jank to acrophobian heights. If the jank does not contribute to the game in a meaningful way, then the jank is merely wank. Kill the Justice League has wanked off too hard, and now everything is blurry, and it needs to take a nap. Why does the big honkin' city need to be there? Metropolis as an open world only serves as a barrier to the main story. The open world provides seemingly random encounters along the way to what we care about. I hear this works in the Spider-Man games because there's just more to do in the city and the game is not broken. But Metropolis? The open world in this game is not even particularly malleable and doesn't have a lot of interesting side missions or the feeling of an actual environment with real people. It's an empty city in which the only residents are the foursome of Arkham Asylum inmates and the killable aliens. It's not an open world or even a playground, because a playground has the monkey bars, the swings, and so forth. Metropolis, as it functions in this game, is an arena for a sport. Kill the Justice League is not designed to be a game. It is designed to be a sport. Not a sports game, but its own sport. Leaving the game is never leaving the game, only leaving a session. Session? Is this new? Even the start screen doesn't say start the game, it says go straight to the action. You mean the game, right? I see what you're doing here, Warner Brothers. You want me to think of all the stores and extra stuff I need to buy as part of the game. So it's not start game, it's just start the session. Everything is the game, including the store. In fact, especially the store. They moved the terminology around to trick you into thinking that the store is part of the game. They created a fandom and merchandise and a world surrounding the game itself, and then told you that all this stuff is the game. And if you want to play the game, you better buy the stuff. Kill the Justice League requires the commitment of players to invest themselves in becoming champions. Earning the wins and top spots relies on dedication, and that dedication is measured in season passes and other purchasable doodads that will either improve the player's skills or at least serve as proof of dedication, a badge of honor among the real get-good gamers. If that concept sounds appetizing rather than revolting, more power to you. But Kill the Justice League does not even serve that concept well. Because, it sucks. All the battles feel unimportant, hollow, without weight. There is a lack of crunchiness to the collision and impact. It is soggy in milk. Spoiled milk. Rancid, spoiled milk. Keeping myself informed about the industry surrounding the art form may be a necessary part of my life now. But playing the latest quadruple-A lifestyle sport is unnecessary. My self-employment, both a blessing and a curse, is absent a boss to tell me what to play and what to cover on my channel. Having played a few recent big-budget games, some good, some bad, I will choose my new releases carefully going forward and stick to games that give me more to say, more to think about, more to transform into art through these videos. Kill the Justice League just isn't that. I'm gonna go play Ruiner. Hi everyone. If you want to support what I do, please like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment under this video. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/renegadecut. I'll see you soon.